This is my BMW. It's a 2011 328i. Today I'm going to be changing the window actuator for the rear passenger side. So yeah, let's look at the parts that we're going to need to change this.
Alright, so these are the only tools that you really need. We have some painter's tape to hold up the window. We have a ratchet. We have a trim removal tool. This is a 10mm socket. And then we have a T20 star tip. This one is going to change from a big square to a small square. I don't know the actual name, just an adapter. And then this adapter makes it longer. So big square to big square, but it just makes it longer to get into those longer areas. So those are the tools that I'll be using. Alright, so I should also mention that this box right here is the actual regulator. I just got this on carparts.com, so it doesn't really matter where you get it from, just make sure that it matches your car. So, first thing we're going to do is use the trim removal tool, and we're going to take off this brown trim right here. So we're going to start on this side closest to the outside of the door. So, I'm just going to put that in there and pop it off. Use your tool if you need help. And then I'm just going to throw this into the car. Is this handle right here. Only half of it's going to come off, so I like to start on the bottom and carefully work it off. So there's no clips like this one, it just kind of pops in place. Try not to break anything, just be gentle. Once again, just throw that right in. If you look inside, we have 1, 2, 3 bolts. We're going to use the T20 star tip to take that one off, to take those off, and take off those screws. Make sure you put these in a spot where you won't lose them. And now that we have those 3 screws off, we're going to take the door frame off. So once again, we're going to use our trim tool. And you do want to be careful not to break any of the trim pieces. So just be gentle as you do this. I'm going to start right down here. I'm going to pop in my trim tool and pull this. Now I can see that there should be trim here. I can feel it. And it is broken. You see how easy that comes up? That should not be like that. So now I'm going to move up. There's a pop. That's good. Again, one more. We want to get all of the side and the bottom before we do the top. So I'm just going to work around. All right. Now it's just the top that's hanging on. So what you want to do, I'm going to hold the handle, and right here, I'm going to pull it towards me and up very carefully. So let's go ahead and pull this up and towards me. Now I'm going to set this down. On the back right here we have 2 wires. So all you have to do is grab this piece and pull up, and that comes right out. And then the other one, so that's just going to be this piece right here. And you can just pull that wire right out. And now my door is free. I can remove this. And this is what we're left with. Okay, I thought I hit record, but I guess I didn't. All that I've done was I took off this insulation piece right here, and this was just sitting in the car. So all I did was I took a knife and I slowly went around the edge and cut that insulation. We want to keep glue on part of the door and part of the insulation. That way when we're putting everything back together, there's a little bit of glue and a little bit of insulation, so I can just pop that right back on. So that's all you guys missed. Now to get into the actual problem, we have a wire right here, don't need that. The only thing we have to worry about is this guy right here. So this is our regulator. This is what moves the window up and down. There's a motor and there's a track that the window sits on. So holding this in place is 3 bolts right here, 1, 2, 3, and a wire. Something that's actually pretty interesting about mine that I just realized off camera is there is a screw right there that is keeping the window from rolling up and down. So what I have to do is just take a screwdriver and unscrew that screw. So now that that screw is out, my window can now move freely up and down. I'm going to bring the window down so that you can see this hole right here. I'm gonna bring the window down just until I see that little notch right there. There's a little notch right in there. I'm gonna bring the window down so it lines up with that hole. Pop that notch out of the window. So you can put your finger in there and push it and push the window up with your other hand. Okay, the window is free from this green piece. As you can see, that was that notch before, and this is the window right here. I'm gonna push this window all the way up until it reaches the top. And now we're gonna grab our tape and tape the window. All right, so I have the window all taped up now. So we're just gonna keep that tape on there until that new piece is installed. The next thing we wanna do is take out the old window regulator. Just attach a 10mm socket. Alright, now that those are unscrewed, our window regulator is free to move. However, we still have this wire that I talked about before. What you want to do, reach around the back, there should be a little clip, push it in, and pull that wire out, just like that. Now we want to take this out so we can push these screws out. The only one we have to worry about is this one on the top. Pop out just like that. Now we're going to carefully pull this out through this bottom hole. And before you order that part, it might be beneficial to take a look at what was actually wrong with this piece. Now you should have two wires. One that moves this piece up, and then one that moves this piece down. There are a few things that could have happened. In my case, the wire in here actually snapped, so I just ordered a whole new piece because I'm not going to deal with trying to replace the wire, do all the wiring. Another thing, this power source could be bad. Any pieces in here that cause the track to move up and down could be broken. So since my wire snapped, I'm just going to replace the whole part. And something I always like to do is double check that this new one matches up with the old. And if we take a look, so there's that. Those look the same. Flip it around. Okay, everything looks sound. And we'll just go ahead, put this new one in, just like how we had the old one. Alright, so let's go ahead and install this piece. Alright, so it was a little tricky to get that in there, but now that it's in the door, we can go ahead and line up this with its track, move it into place, and that should line up our other screws. Perfect. Now, let's go ahead and take those bolts that we just took out and pop those in. Alright, now before I actually plug this back in, I'm going to put the window onto the correct spot on the track. Okay, I just took the tape off the window, so I should just be able to push this in and it'll pop in place, just like that. I can see in this little hole that it'll line up. And now that it's here, I look good and I'm able to roll up the window all the rest of the way. Alright, with that window rolled all the way up now, it's time to reassemble. So we are going to start with what you guys missed out on. all we're going to do, line up this big hole with the big hole, line everything else up. Don't forget, we had this wire over here. Gonna move that back to where it was. And I did actually have a piece of the trim that was torn. This was not my fault, which is super upsetting. I just opened up the car and it was like that. So we're gonna throw that in as well. Piece right there. And just like that, all of the insulation is back in. Next, we can take a look at these wires, putting them back into the door. All right, now we're going to go ahead. This is the door light. This was just down here. We're gonna plug that back in. Make sure it's turned the correct direction. This is for the door handle. You wanna make sure, if we look at the door handle right now, it is hanging open. You wanna make sure that is closed. It'll fall, as you can see. You wanna make sure that you can hold it closed with your leg or something to keep it closed. Then we're gonna take this track right here. We're gonna put the nose in, just like that, and push the rest of it down. Now the door shouldn't flop open anymore. Putting the trim back on, we're gonna have this piece sitting up, just like that. And then we're just gonna line up these, pop those back in without breaking anymore. So go ahead and line those up. And before you push anything in, get this door lock inside its hole. Perfect. All right, now that everything's lined up, I'm just gonna give a few good pushes. And just like that, my door is back on. Last three things, I guess. Put the screws back in, the door, and the trim. So go ahead and grab those screws. Alright, now that those are all screwed in, we can go ahead and put our trim pieces back on, and the job should be done. So for the trim, just remember it starts with this piece. This little knob, for some reason, goes down. So you're just going to line it up and give it a couple good pushes. Cool. And now this other piece. Now the clip is on this side, so we're going to do that last. We're going to go ahead and line up these pieces down here. Up and give it a good push. And just like that, everything should be in. And it works perfectly. Just like that, all the way down and all the way up. That is how you replace your window regulator. Thanks for watching and have a good day.